Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to Worth Guitars. Doing a little work on this guitar today, the Celine with the green back. When we took the tape off, I put a little too much product on, and so when we removed the tape, it was overlapping the tape in a couple of places so thickly that it kind of pulled away the finish, which is unfortunate, but it happens sometimes. If you get a little carried away with your mil thickness on your spray, I don't check it to see how many mils I sprayed or anything. I spray it until I like the color, which is a highly untechnical way of doing things. But I just kind of spray it until I like the density or the intensity of the color, I think is the word I'm trying to say. So I'll show you what we got going on here. What we have is just a couple little small places that need a little touch up. And you see right down in there, right there, boom. Brother Steve has taped this off for us this morning, and I'm just going to take a brush with some green lacquer that I have pre-mixed and just fill in that spot. And there's another one right there. See those couple little bare spots right there? Okay, well I need to touch that up. And that's easy enough to do. It just requires a little patience and some of the same color. So you always need to make sure you keep a little extra color around, because mixing it back up is a pain. So what I did was I just let some of that green dry in the bottom of one of these cups, and it just became kind of a mass of lacquer down inside there. And then I just took a little lacquer thinner. The great thing about lacquer, man, is it's so easy to work with. It will come back to life. If you put a little lacquer thinner on it, I mean, you know, just a blob of lacquer will come right back to life with a little lacquer thinner on it. And so I saved this because it had the powder in it that you see down there that I used in the lacquer to give it a not a translucent, pearlescent is what I'm thinking of. And all I did anyway was just put a couple drops, a couple of squirts out of one of these lacquer thinner down inside there. And now I have a nice thick consistency of lacquer that is the same color and intensity of this green. And I'll just dab a little of that on there and let it dry real well. I'll show you what it looks like. Yes, I did use the end of the paintbrush to stir the lacquer with. You need to make sure you wipe that off before you grab it, or you will have a green hand. The green hand, which wouldn't be so bad, I guess. All right, just a little brush with a little lacquer on there. And we'll just put a little dab on that. Right there, like that. You might have to do this a couple of times, depending on the intensity of the color or how opaque it is, because this isn't opaque at the moment. If you spray enough coats on there, it becomes almost opaque because the intensity of the color keeps overlapping on top of itself, if that makes any sense. And how much powder you put in there for the pearlescence will also begin to make it a little more opaque. And so that's going to take a few dabs right there to get the color right, because the intensity of the green isn't quite right yet. I'll show you what that looks like. And you just let it dry. Don't mess with it until it's dry. Okay, you see now, you can just barely see the green in between the tape there. It's not quite as intense as the rest of the green. Means that it's going to need a few more dabs. And what I'll do is I'll take my finger and wipe a little of the excess off around that so that it doesn't stick to the tape so bad. And then we won't have the same thing happen again where it chips back off, if that makes sense to you. So I just take my finger and wipe off that excess right there. Like that. I'm going to let that dry before I put anything else on it, because we don't want it to become too thick in that little spot. I do want a little more of that pearlescent in there though. just like that. And a little touch over here. Just a touch is all we need. Couple little dabs on that. Can you see them on there? Yeah, you can see them. And we'll let that dry. I'll show you what it looks like after it dries when we take the tape off. Okay? So that's what we're doing today. We're also getting ready to start milling the blanks for the G-style guitar. So those blanks are getting ready to go on the machine, and we'll show you all that cool stuff too as it happens. And this is just to show you what's happening here. This video will kind of go back and forth until we get it touched up the way we like it, all right? And I'll show you how that all takes place. All right, so that's step one. There's a couple little spaces in here where the lacquer overlapped the tape because I got a little carried away inside this area here. I tend to try to put a little more lacquer in these areas where there's points and things come together like that, because when you're buffing, it's real easy to burn through right there because it's small, so when you spray over it, it doesn't take as much finish as you might think. You know, a broad surface like this will take more finish on it than that little round over right there. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? I think you understand what I'm saying. Of course you do. All right. All right. So that's it. I'm going to put this up and we'll be back and see what it looks like after it dries. All right? We'll see you in a little bit. Facing these boards. Remember I told you in the last video, I used the CNC like a milling machine to make the board flat across the surface so it doesn't rot. That's what I'm doing over here now, today. We're doing that today. When it finishes milling that surface, I'll move this over here closer so you can see it. Then we can flip these boards over and run through the planer, and we are sure that we have a nice flat surface and we don't have any twists in the board. So that's what we're doing. I'll move you over closer. Hold on a second. All right, so we got the two boards. The blanks have been faced. We call that facing. You can do that with a joiner too if you have a nice wide joiner. You need like an 8-inch wide joiner or so, minimum, to do boards like this. So now these two boards have been faced and they're flat on that surface. See the arrows pointing up? That's my face. Okay. So now I can turn those over and send them through the planer. We'll do that here in a few minutes. Steve's over here prepping this base. Let me see that base, Steve. Please, sir. Steve's the man behind the camera. You don't see him, but he's here. He's not just a ghost. I'm not talking to myself. Show them that you're here, Steve, so they don't think I'm crazy. You gotta come a little further. There's a hand.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
There he is. He's coming. There's Steve. All right. So Steve has been sanding on this base. We took the color back off of it because it looked kind of like an old antique from the 60s in your grandma's house. was not very sexy at all. Not that everything has to be about sex, but isn't it really? No.
Talking about
Come on.
talking about Mac Jones, dude.
Yeah, this space is going to be out there rocking the planet. It needs to be, you know.
It's got to be kind of sexy. Come on.
Yeah, it's got to be sexy. Absolutely. So, we sanded that back off because it was not cool. I didn't like it. And I don't think Les liked it either. Les was just being nice. So, Les Mosley's base. These pieces of wood, we're getting these pieces of wood milled up so that we can glue that portion of the body blank for the G-style build together. You saw in the last video the beautiful red maple quilted maple, not burl. We'll get that milled up. We'll get a nice joint. We'll glue that together. We'll glue this one together, join it together very nicely, and then we'll put that in a vacuum bag. We're using hand signals to show you the proper procedures. All right. Yes, I do have a glove on one hand. No, nothing weird is going on. I know where you were going with that because you're like that, but that's not what's happening. We're getting ready to put some stain on this base. We're going to see where we're at. And we'll show you that too. There's a lot of stuff going on here today, so stick around. Let me get rearranged. You know the game. We got to move everything around. All right, we'll be right back. All right, we're going to put some more intense green color on top of this and then sand it back and see where we get. Super intense green, like almost a jade green. And then I think I'm going to try to put some white over top of that. See where that ends up. And then it has areas in it where it takes the grain really well. So it's been a challenging piece of wood to work with. And that's where we're at. That's pretty cool looking at it. Yeah, it does almost look like flames across the bottom. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I'm just going to goof around with this a little more here. You know, I got to goof around with it until I mess it up. You just keep going and going. My art teacher gave me some great advice one time. You get to a certain point, you need to walk away, you need to leave it alone, or you're just going to mess it up. So I try to do that as much as possible. But then the OCD kicks in and won't let me leave it alone. Right. All right. Let me get a clean paper towel, please, Steve. Thank you, sir. There we go. Try to just take off any excess sitting on the surface. It'll get weird on us. When it dries, it looks completely different. That's where we're at today. The Mosley base. Very cool green color. Look at that grain, man. Boom. Nice. All right. A little weird spot right there. See that little shadow right there? We need to fix that. Tough spot up in there around the neck. It's always hard to get it right around the neck because it's hard to sand in there. We're going to let that dry, and we're going to do some wood planing. This is going to start getting long, so we might just have to show you the wood planing for just a few seconds and then call this a day because we don't want this to take forever. We know you have things to do. We don't want you to have to sit by the television, but you got other things you need to do. That's where we're at, right, Steve?
Yeah, man.
Lean over a little bit so you can get in there. There you go. We got to get Steve's face in the videos too. Steve is a big part of what we do here. All right, that's it for now. We'll see you guys next time, okay? You guys have a good one out there. I'll just do the little end of the video. You can see the boards going through the planer and so on and so forth. And we'll see you next time. You guys be good to each other out there, okay? Worth Guitars, rock on. We'll see you. Peace.